Welcome to the Eagle Eggs Podcast. I'm your host, Communications Coordinator Henry Conti with the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Local School District. Today, Ginger Keeton, principal at Stephen Bell Elementary, joined me on the podcast. Ginger painted a picture of her Aunt Vicky's classroom where she found her love for teaching at the age of 8. For Ginger, it's always been about teaching elementary school students. 31 years into her career, she still has the love for it, and I think you'll really enjoy this podcast. Take a listen. We are here with Ginger Keeton, the Stephen Bell principal. Ginger, you have been with this district for a long time, 31 years, 17 as the principal here at Stephen Bell. But where did you begin and why did you choose to get into education?
Well, I grew up in Fairborn. I am the youngest child of 3. My dad was in the Army.
Okay.
And he became a civilian contractor on the base, which is called DESI.
Okay.
It was located by Wright-Patt University. And he gave up a few jobs along the way so we didn't have to relocate. So we can stay in Ohio because my mom's family is from Minster, Ohio.
Okay.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't return to work until I was about middle school, and she obtained a job also at DESI, where my dad was at, and then eventually she was promoted and served as the secretary for 2 different generals at Wright-Patt. Luckily, I still have my mom. She's 86 years old, and she lives in Beaver Creek.
Okay.
We do a lot together. So why education? Well, the reason I wanted to talk about my parents is because my parents didn't have a college education.
Okay.
And they instilled in us 3 children that education is everything.
Yeah.
It is very important. It can never be taken from you. And it can open the doors for opportunities. And so as we were growing up, our parents exposed us to literature, the theater. They loved to travel, and they always encouraged us to spend time together as a family. Time was often spent with my family in Minster. My Aunt Vicky was a 3rd grade teacher, and she had the coolest classroom. I can remember seeing the hardwood floors in her classroom, the books in her classroom. Everything was really organized and creative. It was such a happy, safe environment. She was very funny, loving, kind. She was strict, but she always had rules. And I was only 8 years old when I would stay in the summer with my grandparents in Minster, Ohio, and Aunt Vicky would play classroom and be the teacher. And those were great, fond memories. And I knew then, even at the age of 8, that I wanted to be a teacher. So my parents encouraged me to follow that dream. I attended Wright State University to become an educator and married my high school sweetheart. Still married 35 years later.
Amazing. Was it always this level? Even as you, at 8 years old, you're probably only really thinking about teaching elementary school, but as you went through Wright State University, was it always elementary school you were interested in teaching, or was it ever anything higher grade levels than that?
It's always been elementary. I've always had the desire to work with young children. I never thought that I would work with the youngest of the learners until I became a principal. But yes, always younger children.
So you have mentioned to me on occasion before that your career started 1 year as a substitute outside of the district, and then you came inside the district. What have you seen? You've been here for a good amount of time. What have you seen change over the years? What's maybe the most important change to education?
I would say the greatest change in Bellbrook as far as an education is the fact that we've always been on the cutting edge. And we are not afraid to look at what's best for kids in Bellbrook. Here's an example. The State Department came out with reading improvement monitoring plans. They came out with what is called a RIMP for students grades K through 3.
RIMP?
RIMP.
What's the acronym for?
Reading Improvement Monitoring Plan.
Gotcha.
And that was not a big, heavy lift for teachers K to 3. And the reason why is because we had already been doing what the state put in place a good 5 to 6 years before that. Because we put in place a teaching plan.
Right.
We saw what was best for kids. We already had the foresight to know what children needed and what gets done needs to be documented. And so we worked together as a staff family and documented the children's needs, put it in the teaching plan, and communicated that with classroom teachers for Tier 1, reading teachers for Tier 2, and if a child had special needs for Tier 3, the parents. And then when the state came out with the RIMP, it was not a big change for us to change the word teaching plan over to a RIMP and having to make some of the language changes. So that's just one example of a change that comes our way in Bellbrook where we're already ahead of the game.
Yeah. I'm fortunate to be able to sit in with in administration meetings with you and the rest of the principals and kind of see this happen in real time and say, you know, oh, there's this new thing, and you get to say things like, no problem, we're already doing it. We're just going to change the wording, and it's the exact education model we're already following with a few small changes that my teachers aren't going to have a problem with, and that's been great to see on the inside. What's it been like to serve your entire place in one career where you've raised your family and that? What's that been like to have that sense of stability?
It might seem unusual to some people, but for me it's been incredible. And that is because I've had incredible mentors along the way. My very first mentor was the principal who hired me, and that was back in 1993 when I had the opportunity to take a 5th grade long-term position at 5 Points Elementary in Fairborn with my former principal Nancy Sturtz, or the 4th grade long-term position at Old Sugarcreek downtown here in Bellbrook with Patty Stricker, and it was a 10-minute difference.
Yeah.
And Patty Hefner called first.
Yeah.
And what a blessing, because that's where my heart was.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate that that phone call came first. Because I accepted that position, I was lucky enough to work with colleagues like Cheryl Ellinger, Lori Fruoff, Patty Olgagis, who is still working in the district. Through those days of collaboration, working together, listening, I was able to grow as a young teacher and spent 14 years working as a 4th grade teacher in this district and raising my family. And my husband and I decided to build a home out here. To this day, I still speak with Patty Stricker.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we had breakfast together right before school started.
That's great.
Some of my fondest memories are looking back over scrapbook that I have of each year that I taught, running into former students now having their children in the building. And my grandkids are in the district. 2 out of the 4 are, actually 3 out of the 4, because our youngest is now in preschool as well. And so being a teacher and a principal in Bellbrook hasn't just been a career to me, it's been a huge part of who I am.
How does that go for you when somebody says, Mrs. Keeton, you were my principal, and you look at them and go, oh, this is longer ago than I care to admit. How's that work out for you? Is that something you're coming to terms with, something you're okay with?
Absolutely okay with it. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. It's amazing to be in a place like Bellbrook where people, it's just generational, I think. They're happy to send their kids to the same schools that they graduated from. What do you think is the biggest challenge the elementary will face? Doesn't necessarily have to be Bellbrook, but elementary students will face in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, it is going to be a big challenge, and it's sad because when I was going into elementary education, there were a plethora of candidates. Mm-hmm. So many that it was very difficult to get a job. Hence the reason why I subbed for the first year. Yeah. Interestingly enough, my very first interview was at Stephen Bell Elementary.
Oh, wow.
They didn't hire me.
Yeah.
They didn't know me. They hired their student teacher.
Right.
And Paul Dunlap was the principal in this building.
Okay.
And he said to me, you seem like a great young lady, but we don't know you. But we want you to sub in our district. Yeah. And I know that you did your student teaching in Beaver Creek, and they hired their student teachers. But come here and sub for us so we can get to know you and your skill sets. And that's what I did. But now what's happening, there are very few candidates going into education. That's sad and scary all at the same time. If there are less candidates going into the career, and there's a double whammy. Mm-hmm. There are candidates right now, teachers right now who are in their career, they're leaving. Yeah. We've been told as principals to plan on maybe 1 or 2 teachers in your district yearly of leaving the profession. They're just done.
Something that never happened until the last
5 years.
5 years.
That is a huge paradigm shift that never happened when I was teaching. Because of that, we have had to look different at our hiring practices. We're having to look different at how we are setting up for our students' success, that it's not been the norm to have a staff rollover. Yeah. It's very typical that when a posting happens at Stephen Bell that I would have over 200 candidates apply. And now when we don't have hardly 50 candidates that apply, for a teacher assistant to maybe have 5 candidates apply, those are very difficult conversations that we're not used to. A lot of it is because educators are expected to do more, perhaps with less resources. We're finding with early childhood, a lot of it is the difficulty we're facing with mental health supports. There's just a lot of factors that are happening in education as to why candidates are not choosing that as a career.
Here's a softball at the end for you. What's the best thing about being principal at Stephen Bell?
There's so many great things about being here, and that's why I've stayed.
Yeah.
If I had to sum it all up, it would be a well-rounded staff. Why are they well-rounded? Because they jump at any job that needs to be done. It doesn't matter if the cafeteria needs swept, any of us would jump in and do it. It doesn't matter if a student missed the bus, if you're a second grade teacher, if you're the principal, if you are the custodian, we're helping that child get out to the bus. no job is too big or too little for any of us to jump in and help each other do. And that's because we love the kids.
Yeah.
The kids always come first. And I believe that's true in every school building, or at least it should be. Sometimes staff members lose focus on the children because we become adult-centered.
Yeah.
That is not the case at Stephen Bell. We remind each other that we are a school family and we serve children. We appreciate how our parents are so supportive. We know that we have a caring community, and we're really grateful to have a school resource officer this year. So that's been great. And it's really fun to learn 600 student names.
If you say so, I'll believe you. So we're going to get into the flyby. This is a quick hitter on just a couple things. People get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to start with, what is your favorite food?
Pasta.
Pasta. Very nice. Red sauce or like with a little olive oil? What's the go-to?
What's my go-to? Really, any kind of pizza.
Okay.
Any kind of lasagna. Spaghetti. Mac and cheese. I mean, just pasta.
Gotcha. No, it's a great choice. Favorite drink?
I really don't have one. I drink a lot of water, but in the winter, I love a hot cocoa.
Very nice. All right. What is the favorite movie? Go-to movie or TV show?
Well, you're sitting in my office right now.
Yes.
You could look around
I
and
can.
see the memorabilia that students and staff have purchased for me. So obviously, looking around, you're going to tell my favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz.
Indeed.
Most people ask me what or who is my favorite character, and I'll ask you. Do you know who my favorite character might be?
I want to go Glenda the Good Witch, even though I don't see it here. But that's what.
I know most
what I go
people
with.
think it's Glenda the Good Witch. Actually, I do love Glenda, but it's the lion.
It's the lion. All
And that is because it takes courage to be an educator. And, you know, the courage you have to work with 600 littles. And courage that the lion, when he surrounded himself with friends, he found the courage to believe in himself. And I can relate to him because I surround myself with a strong staff, and I have to believe in myself because I don't have an assistant principal, and I never have. And so we run Stephen Bell together.
Favorite emoji?
Pink heart.
Pink heart. All right. And favorite quote?
Teddy Roosevelt, 26th president, had a few quotes in his career, but one that resonated with me came from my mentor. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. Caring is all about relationships. Having spent 30 years in Bellbrook as an educator, what I truly want to be remembered about is the fact that I care about people. I have relationships with people. I want to get to know my students, get to know my staff, listening to them. I'm curious about their life. I love encouraging students, supporting the staff. It's important that when I walk these hallways, when I walk the community, when I'm at the grocery store, that others see me smile. Because sometimes principals get a bad rap that the connotation is that we can, be the disciplinarians when that's not always the case. That is important, and it's the foundation of a trust-based relationship that's always established that path towards success, and that has really steered me towards what's important is to make sure that I am able to talk to people and for them to know that I do care about them.
Ginger, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Welcome to the Flyby. Things are slowing down now as we end October. Parent-teacher conferences are tonight, the 23rd at Stephen Bell. They're also hosting their curriculum display. On the 24th is the junior high fall sports banquet. That's the middle school. On the 25th is the Science and Engineering Showcase, also at the middle school. It's a really fun event. A lot of kids put a lot of hard work into their science displays. On the 26th is BCI's parent-teacher conferences and also their curriculum display. Also on the 26th is the Board of Education meeting work session. The Homemade Holiday Craft Show is on November 4th. That's being held at the high school. Not a district event, but come on in and find something you want for one of your loved ones for the holidays. On November 6th is the Marching Band's Command performance at the stadium. On the 7th is Election Day, so please go out and make your voice heard. On the 9th, there's a lot to do. Our Veterans Day celebration is being held at BCI in the morning. The high school parent-teacher conferences are that afternoon, evening, with their curriculum display. We have a Board of Education meeting on the 9th. And the 9th also kicks off the weekend run of the middle school's fall play, Matilda Jr. Please feel free to come out and join us. That's it for this week's edition of Eagle Eggs. Have a good day, and if it can't be a good day, make it a great one.